The first thing that hit me wasn't what she said. It was how she laughed. It was loud, messy, and real in a way I hadn't heard in years. That laugh wasn't meant for me. I was 3 beers into a retirement party for a captain from Cedar Falls. Old school guy, 40 years in, finally hanging it up. We were at Rocco's, that half-decent steakhouse off Main Street in Des Moines. I was squeezed into a red vinyl booth with some city officials and union guys, halfway through a plate of onion rings, when that laugh cracked through the noise like a damn smoke alarm. I leaned forward and looked down the row of booths. 3 tables down, there she was, Carrie, my wife, hair up, wine glass in her hand, leaned in close to some guy in a black button-down I didn't recognize. Tall, clean-shaven, too polished. He was smiling like he'd already won something. Carrie was supposed to be having dinner with Beth, her best friend from college. That's what she told me. Girls' night, she said. Haven't seen Beth in forever. She even joked about ordering too much wine and regretting it in the morning. Now I was watching her tilt her head and touch this guy's arm like it was the most natural thing in the world. Then I heard her say my name. Tyler? He's just this washed-up local hero who still thinks putting out fires makes him special. The words didn't hit all at once. My brain tried to reject them like a bad transplant. But they kept repeating, bouncing off the inside of my skull like sirens in a stairwell. Quick note, before we go further, share which city or country you're watching from. The guys at my table raised a toast to the retiree. I didn't even lift my glass. I was stuck, frozen in place like my body hadn't caught up to what I just heard. I shifted in my seat, trying to breathe through the noise in my head. Her voice came again, clear this time. I'm only staying until the youngest finishes high school. Then I'll cash out and move on. The man, Mason, I'd learn later, just nodded like he'd heard this plan before. She wasn't whispering. She wasn't hiding it. That's what hit the hardest. She was bold, comfortable, confident that I was too stupid or too trusting to catch on. I turned back to the table, picked up my drink, and forced myself to smile at something I didn't hear. Someone clapped me on the shoulder and said, "You're next, huh? 40 and done." "Yeah," I muttered, raising the glass. "Someday." But inside, my stomach was flipping like a truck in a ditch. Carrie had already decided her exit plan. I was just the idiot she was waiting to dump when the timing looked good on paper. I sat through the rest of the night like I was in a fire I couldn't see. I stayed in that booth another 20 minutes, smiling, nodding, saying all the right things like I wasn't seconds from putting my fist through the salt shaker. I don't even remember what the toast was about. Probably something about legacy or bravery. All I could hear was Carrie's voice repeating in my head, washed-up local hero. On the way out, I told the guys I was going to hit the restroom. I didn't. I took the long way around the booths and passed by hers. She didn't see me. She was too busy sliding a forkful of cheesecake into that guy's mouth. He laughed like he thought she was the funniest woman in the world. And she looked happy, comfortable, like this was just another night in her real life. I walked right past, out the front doors and into the thick night air. My boots felt like they weighed 100 pounds each. I made it to my truck, climbed in, and sat there staring through the windshield like I was waiting for a damn miracle. They came out separately, 5, maybe 10 minutes apart. She went first. I watched her pause under the awning and look around, like she was checking to make sure the coast was clear. Then him. He followed a few minutes later, crossed the parking lot straight toward her. They didn't talk much, just stood close. Then she kissed him. Not a peck, not a goodbye. A long, slow kiss like she was clocking out of her fake life and checking into her real one. I gripped the steering wheel so hard I thought it might snap. Every part of me wanted to throw the door open and go straight at them. Ask her how long this had been going on. Ask him if he even knew I existed. But I didn't. I just sat there like a coward, watching the end of my marriage through a bug-splattered windshield. By the time I got home, it was after 11. The house was dark except for the light over the stove. Rachel was already asleep, door cracked, fan humming. Justin was in his room, headset on, fingers flying over his controller like usual. Carrie was in the kitchen pouring herself a glass of water. She looked up and smiled like everything was normal. Beth says hi, she said. It was nice catching up. We had way too much pasta. I'll regret it tomorrow. I stared at her for half a second too long. She didn't flinch, just kept sipping like she wasn't full of shit. Glad you had fun, I said, voice steady somehow. She came over and kissed my cheek. I could still smell cologne on her. Not mine. His. I'm gonna crash, she said. Don't stay up too late. I nodded. Yeah, I'll be up for a bit. She went upstairs, and I waited till I heard the bedroom door close before I moved. I poured a double shot of whiskey, then another half just for good measure. No ice, just burn. I sat at the kitchen table in the dark, the silence thicker than smoke in a house fire. 19 years. We'd been through money problems, job changes, her mom's death, my dad's stroke, raising 2 kids, late nights, early mornings, holidays, school plays, all of it. And now here I was, sitting in the same house with the same woman, realizing I didn't know a damn thing about her. Was it always like this and I just missed it? Or did something break, and I was too busy playing hero to notice? I thought about every date night she canceled, every girls' trip she took with Beth, every time she came home late, talking about campaign deadlines and picky clients. The story never changed, but now I couldn't stop pulling it apart, replaying conversations in my head, looking for signs, for clues, for that one moment I should have caught her and didn't. Around 2 in the morning, I poured another whiskey and sat on the back porch with a blanket and my dog, Daisy. She curled up next to me like nothing was wrong. I didn't sleep, couldn't. My brain was stuck on a loop, 19 years, 2 kids, a house, a marriage. And she was ready to walk away from all of it like it was just a lease she was breaking early. And I still hadn't said a damn thing. By sunrise, I'd already decided, no more guessing. I needed to know for sure. I called out sick for the first time in 15 years. Didn't even fake a cough. Just left a message saying I wouldn't be in. Then I waited. At 8:10 sharp, Carrie left in that over-coordinated blazer and slacks she always wore when she wanted to look campaign professional. She kissed me on the cheek like I didn't know what I knew, grabbed her laptop bag and said, "Meeting with that restaurant group today. Could run long. Love you." I nodded, let her walk right out the door. Then I grabbed my keys and followed her from a block away. She didn't head toward downtown or the agency. She drove 15 minutes west to a little diner off Route 6. I pulled into the gravel lot across the street and parked between 2 pickups. Sat low in my seat. She got out and walked inside, all smiles. 5 minutes later, he showed up. Mason. I hadn't seen his face clearly the first night, but now I had a front row view. Clean shave, designer sunglasses, slick confidence oozing out of his too tight jeans. Looked like the type of guy who'd charm old ladies at fundraisers and sleep with their daughters. They grabbed a booth by the window and ordered coffee like this was a Tuesday routine. She laughed loud enough for me to hear through the glass. Threw her head back, touched his wrist when she talked. She looked younger, freer. I watched her lean in like they were 20 and falling in love over pancakes. Couldn't believe it. She was actually giddy, like our marriage had been some long, boring job and she'd finally clocked out. That night, over dinner, she texted under the table while Rachel told us about a group project. I asked who it was. She didn't even blink. Just a client thing. The restaurant chain. Strategy updates. I said nothing, just nodded and kept chewing while my stomach turned to stone. The next morning, I dug into our shared tech. I'd bought the tablet last year, linked it to our cloud, set it up myself. Carrie never touched the settings. She never had to. I guess she forgot its synced messages. What I found hit like a bat to the ribs. 8 months. 8 solid months of back and forth with Mason. Messages, pictures, videos. Nothing too graphic, though some came close. Most of it was her pouring her heart out to him like they were building a future. And me? I was the punchline. One message stuck out. She wrote, "I could vanish for a week and he'd just assume I picked up another shift. That's how checked out he is." I read it 3 times. Then I slammed the tablet down so hard I thought I cracked the screen. Checked out? I was working extra shifts to keep the bills covered when her firm cut bonuses. I was picking up Rachel from practice, fixing leaks in the basement, making her damn lunch for work half the time. Checked out? I was holding the line while she was out playing fantasy life with a contractor who probably used the same pickup lines at Home Depot. I pulled Mason's name. Found out he ran some mid-tier construction company, remodels, decks, kitchen upgrades. He wasn't even that good. Had a few city citations for cutting corners. But apparently he was exciting enough to be worth throwing away 19 years for. The more I read, the more I realized this wasn't just an affair. It was a plan. She had dates marked out. When Justin's out, after Rachel's birthday, by next spring, she was already scheduling her exit like it was a damn campaign launch. And every time she came home to me, smiling, lying, pretending, it was just cover. I didn't sleep that night either. But it wasn't from shock anymore. It was clarity. Cold, clean, bitter clarity. She thought I wouldn't notice. She thought I wouldn't fight. That I'd just fade quietly into the background while she ran off into her shiny new life. She had no idea who she was dealing with. By the end of the week, I was done playing detective. I needed backup. First stop was Adam, Carrie's younger brother. We weren't close, but we'd always been on decent terms. He was one of the only people in her family I could stand. Quiet guy. School guidance counselor over at Eastside High. No drama, no ego. Just steady. Honest. I texted him. Need to talk. Family stuff. Just us. He replied right away. Come by my office Saturday. Early's best. So I did. He met me at the side door, let me into his office, and locked it behind us. Wore that same confused, half-worried look he always had when Rachel or Justin got called in for a meeting. What's going on, man? He asked, pulling the chair out across from me. I didn't say much, just pulled the manila folder from my coat and laid it on his desk. Inside, 22 pages of printed messages. Nothing graphic, just enough to paint the picture. He read the first few lines, then stopped and looked at me. Wait, this is Carrie. I nodded once. His face fell. You're sure these are real? I pulled them from our shared tablet. Synced messages. Timestamps line up. Locations too. There's no doubt. He read a few more, shook his head slowly. Jesus. I leaned forward. She's been planning to leave. After Justin graduates. She's lying to the kids every day. Pretending we're solid. I'm not blowing this up just to hurt her. I'm trying to shield them from it as long as I can. Adam didn't argue. He just sat back and let out a breath like he'd been punched in the gut. You want my help? He asked. Yeah. When it's time to tell Rachel and Justin, I want you there. Someone they trust. Someone who won't spin it. He nodded. You've got it. I'll help prep them when the moment comes. I won't sugarcoat it. And if this goes to court, I may need someone to verify Carrie's intentions. That she had no plans to stay, that she was lying to all of us. Adam didn't blink. If it comes to that, I'll testify. I stood. Thanks. I know this puts you in a tough spot. Not really, he said. She did this to herself. After that meeting, I set up one of my own with HR at the department. Tracy and Glenn were waiting when I walked into the conference room. HR and union rep. I shut the door and laid it out clean. No sob story. No theatrics. Just facts. My marriage was about to explode, and I needed to protect what I'd earned. Tracy tapped a pen against her notepad. Your pension, retirement benefits, savings, those could all be vulnerable depending how she plays it. Especially if she files first. She won't, I said. I'm just getting ahead of it. Glenn chimed in. We know a good lawyer. Used by a few of the guys after messy splits. Solid, quiet, thorough. I took the number. By the end of the week, I had a call set up and paperwork in motion. The lawyer, Spencer Latham, spoke like a guy who'd seen too many men taken for everything they had. She's already building her new life, he said. We're just going to make sure she doesn't fund it with yours. We talked protections, retirement accounts, property, trust options. He wasn't cheap, but he was efficient. I signed the retainer that afternoon. I left his office and sat in my truck for a full 10 minutes before I turned the key. The engine clicked, the AC kicked in, and I sat there staring at the road. Everything I'd built. My house, my savings, my future with the kids. It wasn't going down with her. She could lie to Mason all she wanted. But when this came crashing down, I was going to be standing. And I wasn't standing alone anymore. The following Monday, I sat down with my sister, Danielle, at her kitchen table in Ankeny and handed her a folder thicker than a phone book. Everything's in here, I told her. Title transfer, temporary trust agreement, full legal wraparound from Spencer. Just sign where the tabs are. You'll hold it until the dust settles. She didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. Danielle had seen enough growing up with our dad to know what betrayal looked like. You sure she doesn't suspect anything? She asked. She still thinks we're going to Branson for our anniversary next month. Danielle looked down at the paperwork, shook her head. Damn. I nodded. She's that confident. By Wednesday, the house was out of both our names, parked safely in a temporary family trust under Danielle's control. That way, Carrie couldn't touch it or force a sell-off if things went south in court. Next was the rental property. 2-bed duplex near Grand Avenue. We bought it 5 years ago as an investment. Her idea, mostly. She hadn't set foot inside it in over a year. I called the realtor, listed it for a fast cash offer, and moved the entire profit, 87 grand, into a 529 plan split between Rachel and Justin. Locked, designated for college only. I made sure of it. Carrie didn't notice a thing. She was too busy texting Mason garbage like, 3 more months and we're free. And he's totally clueless. I almost feel guilty. Almost. I kept reading every word that came through the tablet. Mason had no shame. Kept pushing her to move faster, risk more, lie better. She started sending him selfies from the office, bathroom mirror shots, giggling emojis like a damn teenager. At home, it was business as usual. She smiled at dinner, left dishes in the sink, scrolled her phone while Rachel showed her art projects. Meanwhile, I was playing the part of husband/undercover war planner. That Friday, I cooked dinner. Full spread, roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, rolls. Even baked the brownies myself, which I hadn't done since Justin turned 10. She walked in at 7:42 p.m. with her hair damp and her lipstick smudged. Sorry, she said, tossing her keys in the bowl. Client dinner ran over. Justin was already on his second plate. Rachel was pouring milk. I watched Carrie glance at the food like it was suspicious. You didn't have to do all this? She said, barely smiling. I shrugged. Felt like a good night for it. She sat down, picked at her green beans, barely touched the chicken. Halfway through the meal, she excused herself, said she was tired. She was upstairs and in the shower before dessert even hit the table. Rachel asked, "Is Mom okay?" "She's just busy," I said. "Long week." After the kids went to bed, I poured myself a glass of water, walked out onto the back porch and called Spencer. "I'm done," I told him. "Let's file." There was no hesitation on his end. "We'll have the papers prepped by Friday." "How do you want her served?" "In public," I said. "At work. First thing Monday morning." A short silence. Then Spencer said, "That'll send a message." Good. I stayed on that porch for another hour, listening to the wind hit the trees, wondering how long Carrie had been planning her freedom. She thought she'd pull the rug out from under me, that she'd wake up one day, pack a suitcase, and walk away clean. But now every piece was locked in place. She thought she was moving through a silent house with the lights off. She didn't realize I'd already flipped the circuit breaker. Come Monday morning, the lights were coming on. Monday morning, I dropped Rachel off at school like nothing was wrong. She had a history quiz and asked if I'd test her on the amendments later. I said sure, smiled, told her good luck. Then I pulled into the firehouse, parked out back, and sat in the captain's office with the door closed. Didn't talk to anyone. Didn't even take off my jacket. At exactly 9:32 a.m., Spencer called. "It's done," he said. "Served in the front lobby." She was standing with 3 coworkers when our guy walked in and said her name. "You should expect calls soon." I didn't say anything, just nodded into the silence and hung up. The calls started 20 minutes later. First her cell, then my phone, then a string of texts. What the hell is this? Are you serious right now? Tyler, answer me. What are you doing? I didn't respond. Not one word. I shut my phone off and tossed it in my desk drawer. Let her sit in it. That evening, I got home before she did. Justin was upstairs blasting music through his headphones. Rachel was at Adam's place. He picked her up after school, like we planned. I heated up leftovers and waited. At 6:48 p.m., the front door flew open so hard it slammed against the wall. She was red-faced, chest heaving, papers in her hand. "What the fuck is this?" she shouted, waving the divorce packet. I didn't get up, just looked at her from the kitchen table. Exactly what it looks like. You served me? At my job? In front of my coworkers? You want to talk about public embarrassment? I said calmly. Let's start with you feeding cheesecake to your boyfriend 3 booths from my crew. Her face went white. You, she stuttered. You were there. I nodded. I heard every word. About me being washed up. About you cashing out after Justin graduates. About 3 more months and we're free. I've heard it all, Carrie. I've got the texts, the pictures, the plans. She dropped the papers on the floor and backed up a step, like I'd hit her. You went through my stuff? No. I went through our stuff. Synced devices. Remember that tablet you never use? I did the setup myself. Her mouth opened, then shut again. She had nothing. I stood slowly, walked around the table, and stopped just in front of her. You think I'm clueless? You think I've been asleep in this house while you build a second life behind my back? Her voice cracked. It wasn't serious, Tyler. It was stupid. It was a mistake. You're overreacting. I barked a laugh. 8 months of cheating isn't a mistake. Planning your exit like it's a corporate campaign isn't a mistake. That's calculated. She dropped onto the arm of the couch and covered her face. Tears. Loud, dramatic, ugly ones. I didn't mean for it to get this far. I didn't know what to do. You could have left like an adult, I said. You could have told the truth. I didn't want to blow up the kids' lives. Too late. She looked up. Where are they? Rachel's with Adam. Justin's here, upstairs. Neither of them knows yet, but they will. And when they hear the truth, they're staying with me. That's already in motion. Her whole body stiffened. You don't get to take them from me. I didn't. You handed them over when you chose Mason. She stood up, furious again. So that's it? You're just done. I was done the second you looked him in the eye and said I meant nothing. Silence. I walked past her and headed to the hall closet. Grabbed a pillow and one of the guest blankets. Tossed them on the couch. What's that supposed to mean? She snapped. It means you're sleeping in the guest room. You don't get to lie next to me tonight. Or any night going forward. She stood frozen in the hallway while I went upstairs. That was the first night in 19 years we didn't sleep in the same bed. And I didn't lose a minute of sleep. Saturday morning hit like a weight on my chest. I met Adam at Eastside High around 9 o'clock. The place was dead quiet except for the buzz of the vending machines and the distant hum of janitor equipment. He let me into his office, closed the door, and pulled the blinds halfway. Rachel and Justin showed up a few minutes later. Rachel clutching her hoodie sleeves, Justin trailing behind with his hands in his pockets, earbuds dangling. Rachel looked around. Why are we here? I motioned for them to sit. Adam stood behind his desk but gave me space. This was mine to lead. I took a deep breath and started. Your mom and I are getting a divorce. Rachel blinked fast. Wait, what? Justin didn't react. Just nodded once, slow. I figured. Rachel whipped her head toward him. What? You knew. I suspected, he muttered. Didn't think he'd actually say it. She turned to me, voice cracking. Why? What happened? I looked her right in the eye. Your mom hasn't been honest with me. Or with you. She's been seeing someone else for a while now. And she was planning to leave after Justin graduated. Rachel gasped like I slapped her. What? No. She wouldn't. She was, I said gently. I saw the messages. I heard the words come out of her own mouth. Justin leaned forward, jaw tight. How long did you know? A few weeks, I said. I didn't want to come to you until I had everything figured out. So you just let her stay? He snapped. You knew she was screwing around and you just let her act like everything was normal? I was protecting you too. I didn't want a screaming match in the house. I needed to get the legal side straight before anything else. He shook his head, furious. You should have said something. I lost respect for you, man. Watching her lie every night and you just stood there. I bit the inside of my cheek and nodded. You're right to feel that way. I made a call. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but it was mine to make. Rachel was crying now, arms wrapped around herself. Does she even love us? She whispered. I slid forward in my chair. Yes, of course she does. This has nothing to do with you. What she did, those were her choices. Bad ones. But you two are everything to her. That's never changed. Then why would she do this? She sobbed. Because she stopped being honest with herself a long time ago, I said. She built another life and thought she could live in both worlds without anyone getting hurt. Adam finally stepped in, voice calm but firm. You didn't do anything wrong, Rachel. And neither did you, Justin. Adults mess things up sometimes. This is one of those times. I looked at both of them. I'm not leaving. You two are my priority. We're staying in the house. Nothing changes unless you want it to. Rachel wiped her face. I don't want to live with her. Justin's voice was cold. Me either. Then you're with me, I said. I already made the legal moves to keep you both at home with me full-time. Your mom knows. It's happening. Rachel looked up at me, her voice barely above a whisper. Promise. I nodded. I promise. We're staying steady no matter what. Justin slouched back in his chair, arms crossed. We better. Because I'm done pretending. I didn't blame him. As we left the school, Rachel reached out and grabbed my hand like she used to when she was little. Justin walked ahead, silent, jaw clenched. I'd never seen them so grown up and so broken at the same time. But I had them now, and I wasn't letting go. 3 months later, I sat on a stiff wooden bench in a Polk County courtroom that smelled like paper, bleach, and people who didn't want to be there. The carpet was worn, the chairs were worse, and everything echoed just enough to make you feel like the whole damn room was listening. Carrie sat across the aisle from me, 1 row forward, next to her lawyer. She looked tired, drawn in the face, hair flat, makeup too heavy like she was trying to paint over the last few months. She hadn't said a word to me since the kids chose to stay with me. I'd blocked her number after the 5th late-night guilt text. Mason wasn't in the picture anymore. Word got around he bailed once lawyers got involved. Couldn't handle the fallout. Classic. Her attorney, some overpriced peacock in a gray 3-piece suit, started pushing for more support before the judge even got through the docket. Mrs. Burke has sacrificed significant personal income over the years to support her husband's career. She is entitled to a fair share of retirement, housing, and, my lawyer, Spencer, cut him off clean. All joint assets were legally repositioned into protected trusts prior to filing. The marital home is off the table. Retirement accounts are locked. She can't touch them. The judge, a stiff woman with reading glasses and zero tolerance for BS, nodded without even looking up. Motion denied. Carrie didn't flinch. She just stared straight ahead like she already knew the outcome. The same confident smirk she used to wear at dinner parties was gone. What replaced it looked like surrender. 10 minutes later, it was done. Papers signed. Divorce finalized. Primary custody, me. Visitation. Every other weekend. Supervised until further review. Child support minimal. She wasn't working full-time anymore. Apparently marketing got too stressful. The clerk handed me my copy of the decree. I folded it once, slipped it into my folder, and stood to leave. That's when she got up and walked over, alone. I stopped, didn't speak, just looked at her. Her voice cracked right away. I never meant for this to happen. I waited a second, then gave her a single nod. No emotion, no reply. Her eyes went glassy. Tyler, But it did, I said, cutting her off. And now we all live with it. She looked like she wanted to say more, but she didn't. She just turned and walked out the side door, heels clicking against the tile like she couldn't get out fast enough. I exhaled, looked up at the ceiling, then down at the polished tile beneath my boots. Felt nothing. Not relief, not rage, just a quiet weight lifting off my chest, slow and steady. Outside, the sun was out for the first time in days. It hit my face like a slap, sharp but needed. Adam was waiting in the truck, parked just down the block. He gave me a look through the windshield, no words, just a nod. The same kind he gave me the day I handed him the folder with Carrie's messages. I climbed in, shut the door, and didn't look back. Carrie could rewrite the story however she wanted. Tell her friends it just didn't work out. Blame the stress, blame me, blame the system. But I knew the truth. And now the court did too. She played a long game and lost. Not because I was smarter or better, just because I paid attention when it counted. The damage was done, but the fire was out. And I still had what mattered most sitting under my roof, calling me Dad. 2 years later, I sat across from Adam at the same diner where this whole mess started. The booths were still the same. Slightly cracked vinyl, the smell of frying grease in the air, but the place felt different now. Lighter somehow. Not a weight in the room. Justin was home for the weekend, back from his second college visit. He'd been accepted to 2 schools already, one on the East Coast and another closer to home. His admissions essay, about personal strength, about how fire taught him to rise from the ashes. Couldn't have been prouder. Rachel was 16 now, and she was doing just fine. More than fine. She was dating a quiet, grounded kid named Evan who actually helped her clear the table after dinner without being asked. I swear he was too polite to be real. I couldn't decide if that was a good or bad thing. Carrie had moved to Denver, out there chasing whatever dream she thought she could find. She called the kids once a week and visited occasionally, but it wasn't the same. The distance, literal and emotional, did a lot of good. For everyone. The kids were okay with it, maybe even relieved. As for me, I started seeing someone new, Julie. She ran a small business, a boutique marketing firm that was nothing like the corporate mess Carrie had gotten caught up in. Julie had a teenage son, Ethan, who was quieter than my kids, but he liked comic books and played football. I liked him. Adam stirred his coffee, then set the spoon down slowly, watching me. The kids respect you more now than they ever did. I chuckled, thinking about the nights I'd stayed up with them, just trying to make sure everything felt normal. Yeah, well, I'm not exactly their friend. I'm still the guy who yells at them to clean their rooms. Adam smiled, but his eyes were serious. No, man. They get you now. They see the strength. They understand you fought for them. You fought for you. I didn't know how to respond to that, so I just nodded. My life wasn't perfect, but it was mine now. I wasn't just holding on anymore. I was living. Really living. Looking back, I realized something that still caught me off guard. Carrie's betrayal, it freed me. It opened a door I didn't even know was there. I had been so damn focused on keeping a family together that I forgot I could be something more. I could be stronger. I could be better. The firefighter who was boring in Carrie's eyes became the man who put out his own life's worst fire and came out of it stronger. Not just for me, but for the people who mattered. I took a sip of my coffee and set the cup down. Things weren't perfect. They never would be. But they were real now. And sometimes that's the best you can ask for. Thanks for sticking around, man, I said, half smiling at Adam. He laughed, shaking his head. You didn't need me, but I'll always have your back. I let out a slow breath, feeling a weight I hadn't even realized was there lift off my chest. I know, and I'm damn glad you do. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was finally living. And for the first time in a long time, I could honestly say it felt good.